Hi everyone. Because we're coming up to spring break and there's so much happening and your events are due, this is a review of what's happening in the next couple of weeks, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So the first thing on this list is that on the 4th, your needs assessment paper is due. It's submitted in Unit 2, but I shared with you that I would allow it through March 6th. That way you would have time to read feedback from your Reflection 2 paper and possibly incorporate some of that information into this needs assessment paper. For example, question 1 asked you about your needs assessment and what you did and what you could have done differently, and that is definitely something that could be incorporated into this paper. On 3/5, which is Friday, your final test questions are due and you submit them where you submit your final timeline. You will get them back with either final recommendations or tweaks, or I will just make the changes for you. If you're totally off base, I'm just going to change them. If you're close, I'm going to tell you what to do and tell you to move forward. Um, Also, this weekend on the 7th, you have your first submission of your presentations. There are 4 discussion boards open for this. There are 2 discussion boards for the first submission, and then there are 2 discussion boards for the second submission. The initial presentation submission is divided into 2 groups. You will submit either in the Monday, Friday group or the Wednesday, Friday group. If you're in groups 1 to 4, you submit in one discussion board. If you're groups 5 to 7, you submit in the other. There are directions there on how you submit, what you submit, and then what you are required to do and when you're required to complete it by. Please make sure you go over that and you understand it. On the 12th, which is only 5 days after that, your final submission of your presentation will be due in the second set of discussion boards. Groups 1 to 4 will submit in the discussion board for Monday, Friday, and groups 5 to 7 will submit in the discussion board for Wednesday, Friday. This is a very quick turnaround, and I'm going to be happy to provide you with some leniency if you cannot get it in by the 12th, but we'll have to discuss that and come to an agreement on what we're doing. On Monday of next week and Wednesday of next week, we will meet briefly in our rooms, and then you'll be free to go and work in your groups on whatever is coming up that you need to complete. During spring break, I will be checking your minutes. Right before spring break starts, you have a post to do in a discussion board. We can also discuss if you want that changed at all. On the 24th of March, which is the Wednesday we come back, your documentation for your work for the event is due. You must have documentation of what you have completed and contributed to your group's presentation. If you have no documentation, you cannot get points for doing anything. I can also answer questions about that if you have them. But in the real world, if you do not document what you do, then it did not really happen. Documentation could be things like letters that were sent or received, text messages, photographs of prizes that you were able to get. There might be something in the minutes that documents what you did or contributed to the group, but you have to have documentation. If you submit no documentation, you will not get the couple of points that are assigned to that area. Also on the 24th, your PSA or artifact is due. And this is a recording. There's a recording of the directions for this artifact where you submit the artifact in Unit 3. So if you go to where the PSA is submitted, there are very clear directions with a recording and a scoring rubric. This first week that we come back, the week of the 22nd through the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, that week is the week that you are doing your presentations. Therefore, there'll be no class meetings that week. I will be available for you. I will be happy to meet with you if you are doing a synchronous presentation. I want to watch it while you're doing it. that week, I want you to devote to making sure that your presentation is as perfect as possible. You have, there's a lot of loose ends that are going to happen that week that you need to take care of. You could also use that week to work on your PSA and on your reflection. There's a lot of stuff going on that week that you could use your class time to work on. On the 26th, I'm waiting to hear back from Dr. Whitner, but she originally had a planned event on the 26th from 11 to 2 that was required for you to attend to interact with the interns who are out now. As long as that intern activity is happening, you'll be able to submit an extra credit assignment, and I will put that extra credit assignment together once I confirm that it's happening. On 3/31, which is a Wednesday, your POI paper is due. You do not need to wait until you're done your presentation to start writing this paper. If you look at the directions for this paper, there are lots of directions there. And there is a recorded set of directions where you submit the paper. So where you submit the POI is a scoring rubric, and there is a link to a 10-minute set of directions. Most of this paper can be written right now. So you could actually start putting your paper together as soon as you wanted. There are very few things that you have to wait until after the presentation occurs to write, but probably 75 to 90% of this paper could be written before you actually complete your presentation. From April 1st to 2nd is when the Unit 3 test is open, and on April 4th is when your Reflection 03 is due. This is what's happening. Please make sure you check the announcements routinely so that you're aware of what's going on. I will see you in class briefly next week, which would be either March 8th or March 10th. I'll be meeting with your group somewhere 10 to 15 minutes, and then I will not see you again until the week of the 31st. So the week of March 29th is when I'll see you again in official class. So I'll see you next week, the 8th and the 10th, and then we'll touch base on what's happening and we'll all move forward.